Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Realtor Nation Podcast, Episode 4. My name is Ian Hoover, and I am the host of this podcast, and I'm very excited to bring to you, the Realtor Nation, a show to help you improve your business. My goal is to bring you some of the most successful agents in the business and ask them the questions that every realtor wants to know. 87% of agents fail. It's time to change that. The agents I'm interviewing have not only succeeded, but they are truly some of the most successful and talented agents in our business. Today I am with Rookie Agent Success Tony Angotti. Before we get started, I'd like to talk about our guest. He's newer to the business. He's only been in about 12 months. He's done 18 deals in his first year and is a multi-million-dollar producer already in an area where the average sale price is only $166,000. So without further ado, I want to bring Tony Angotti. Welcome, Tony.
Hi, Ian. Good to be here.
Thanks for coming in. I'd like to start by why you're in the real estate business.
So I initially got into the real estate business as an investor. I started out buying rental properties first, was a little bit upset with the service that the realtor community is providing to investors, so I decided to get my license myself. And then through networking and talking to a number of other investors, that's where I started to build my business. People reached out and said, "Hey, Tony, can you help me buy a house?" Help people buy houses, and then kept going from there.
Okay, so what was your overall thought process for getting in? Was it going to be a career for you or just something to make money on the deals that you were buying?
Initially, it was just for the ease of getting into properties, representing myself, having more control over the transaction, being able to bid the way that investors bid on properties, not being talked into just higher priced properties that don't make money. So that was why I got in initially. And then as I started to work with people, it was exciting, fun to help people find an investment for themselves and their families and their future. So that's what's made me go towards making it more of a career rather than just something for myself.
What's your favorite thing about the real estate business?
Favorite thing about the real estate business is probably just that every transaction is a little bit different. It always seems like it doesn't get boring. It doesn't seem super transactional because there's always something new that comes up, something that changes, something that you can help somebody else with that might not be familiar with the area or investing or something like that.
What's your least favorite thing?
Least favorite thing is probably dealing with people that aren't incredibly responsive, or people who are supposed to have some level of expertise that just don't at all. That's probably my most frustrating part of it.
So getting your real estate license, you take a class that's roughly 60 hours, and then you take a test. Talk to me about what it took to learn the ropes in the real estate industry, and when did you start to actually feel some confidence that you knew what you were doing?
So I think that being an investor and learning that side kind of helped me a little bit off the bat, but the licensure class itself doesn't really teach you all that much about actually how to become an agent. Some other background that I had helped a little bit with just coming from sales, so having kind of the whole prospecting, marketing sort of aspect of things, I had some experience with that. But as far as learning the actual process of purchasing a property, you lean on other people that are in the industry. So when I started, I was with Keller Williams, and I started going to kind of like the after-hours classes, things of that nature, and then just bringing questions, asking, not being afraid to ask any kind of question you have, whether it's seemingly stupid at the time. And then after I went through the classes, started to find a mentor, which was Alice Deacon out of our office, and then you as well to help with things. So that's kind of where, you start to get more comfortable the more situations you go through. I think the other thing that helped was just never saying no to a potential client. So just because you're scared to take on something, still tell them like, hey, I have experienced people that I can lean on if I don't know something, but we'll work through this, we'll find out everything that we need to find out. But just involving yourself in as many transactions as you possibly can, I think is what helped build a comfort level. I'd say it was probably like transaction 4 or 5 where you started to kind of realize that crazy things come up in a lot of transactions that you do. So then as you learn to deal with those things that come up, it just builds a confidence level that you can find out how to solve those problems.
Wait, you mean every transaction's not the same?
Nope, not at all. Especially with the investor properties.
So you've had a great first year, unlike your boy Carson Wentz. You're new to the business. I'm sure you had a couple hurdles. What was your biggest hurdle that you had?
I think the biggest hurdle that I had was probably, you get a couple. I think having some success off the bat, it makes you think that it's easy, like right away. Because I had my first few transactions go pretty smoothly, and then whenever you have one where it doesn't really work out, there's, you get through your inspection and everything, and the person doesn't really want to move forward, and you've done all this work. I think that was the hardest thing to realize, is that in this industry, you're not really guaranteed anything. It's like, until you get to closing and you get paid, you can put in 100 hours or 0 hours, and it might be difficult at first to get over that you did all that for nothing. But then what you realize is that as long as you work with your client to help them kind of navigate those issues, then they become somebody who trusts you. And as long as you're okay with whatever they want to do, then they continue to do business with you. And I think the thing that taught me that lesson was the first client that I had deal with a property that they backed out of was also one who became a business partner down the road, just because through that experience they trusted me enough to then look for properties together.
Okay, so seeing the process and not having guaranteed money until the deal is done is the most difficult process for you then? Or was the biggest hurdle?
It was the biggest hurdle at the beginning, was just kind of getting over that, and then having to take a lesson away to realize that it's not a failure. Just every time that something doesn't go right is a learning experience.
Now, it's mind-blowing to me that you are still not full-time in our business. How do you manage your busy schedule?
I think in some ways having additional work obligations has kind of required me to somewhat automate and somewhat create tools just to organize myself and my clients' times. My job's flexible enough that I can take a phone call or respond to an email or a text message. So that certainly helps, but I've just implemented tools, like I use a project management software to manage closing. So I have all the deadlines and all the contacts that the client needs in there that they can access at any time, so they can ask questions that way. Kind of done a lot of I guess the other thing that happened was just from being active in forums and groups in the investor community, that helped as well. But probably the biggest thing was just picking a niche, learning that niche, focusing on that rather than spending time doing all kinds of different things. Like, I think sometimes people try to do everything right off the bat, and then they don't focus on one subset of the industry, and then they just get way too overextended and can't figure it out. I don't know. But it's definitely been stressful at times. It's just create as many systems as you can to sort of manage your time.
So, in our business, and one of the reasons why I have this podcast is because 87% of real estate agents fail. Why do you think that is?
I think one that I just mentioned would be lack of focus. I think too many people have shiny object syndrome. Like, they just want, they don't really focus on sort of perfecting one aspect of things and then growing from there. I mean, I pretty much took what I knew a little bit about, which was investing, and focused only on that aspect of the industry. And then as I transition over to full-time, I'll obviously try to branch into other sectors. But that focus really helped me just kind of learn what that type of customer needs, so that I can focus on perfecting my business to that customer. So one would be lack of focus. Another would just be lack of organization and time management. So I even see some experienced agents have problems with that. Like, for instance, there are different modes of communication. If it's a simple thing, you can just send a quick email or a text message rather than having a 40-minute long phone conversation with somebody. I'm guilty of having really long-winded conversations, as we see from this answer. But I think that's another thing, is just managing time, and then also being persistent and just keep doing the things that gain you customers. So I guess the thing for me has been a lot of online, like answering questions, forums, and stuff of that nature. So I continue to just dedicate time to lead generate, and just continue talking to prospects. Because if you stop talking to prospects in any sales industry, then you stop making money.
What about work ethic? Do you think work ethic has anything to do with why we fail in this industry?
Probably a big part of it, especially because there's no boss telling you to do anything. So it's kind of, you have to be self-motivated enough to continue to do all the tasks that you need to, especially if you're starting out part-time, you go to work all day, and then you come home, and then that's when you gotta work again. So it's pretty much just like 2 full-time jobs, so if you don't have a strong work ethic, it's not gonna work for you.
Have you worked with another agent who you felt maybe wasn't working as hard as they needed to get the job done?
Yeah, there's been times whenever you've had to track down information that you would think that the other side agent would have done, or stuff like that. I mean, it's definitely comes up.
Okay. If you were to start over again, so it was December of last year you started really selling, what changes would you make to improve on what's already been a successful first year?
I think I've focused a lot on buyers because in my mind that made the most sense for my schedule. But I think I probably would have started marketing just as heavily for listings as I would have for buyers.
Why do you say that?
I say that because I think listings are a little bit more, once you get down the marketing and things like that, you don't have to physically go somewhere as frequently, and then that saves time. So really, I think a lot of the benefit to the industry is that a lot of the work you can do from your computer and things of that nature, so you don't have to always drive into an office. But if you spend all your time driving around, then you've defeated the purpose. So obviously you have to go out and show homes, but by marketing for that, I probably would have had a little bit more of a lead funnel that requires, more marketing skills rather than just constantly the grind of driving around and driving around and driving around.
How many hours per week does it take to sell 18 properties in your first year? I guess you can include your other employment too, which you're going to hopefully not be there too much longer. None of your coworkers listen to this podcast, I hope.
I won't post it yet. Whenever I finally leave, I'll post it. If I include the other work, I don't know, 70 to 80, it feels like, most of the time. I mean, it's hard to even quantify with all the conversations and stuff that you have with people. I mean, I'm on my lunch break, I'm before work, I'm after work, I'm talking to people. Somebody says, hey, Tony, finds me online, and they say, hey, do you want to, can you talk to me about investing in Pittsburgh? And I won't turn down anybody, I'll find a time. And then, just all the constant reviewing properties to send out to people, because people don't like to just see the alerts come in because they don't feel like you're doing any work for them. So you got to kind of try to find stuff that matches what they want to do. So probably 70 to 80 hours, maybe more, depends on the week.
And someday when you are full-time, what kind of hours do you expect to put in?
Some weeks I'd expect similar, but on an average week, I think that my fiance would say that having email on your cell phone is like the worst possible thing for us. So, because it's impossible for me to just not to see it. It's really hard for me to not reply to somebody, or I always star them so that I know to reply later. But probably at least 50. I couldn't see how I would get away with less. The goal's to hit pretty significant sales volume. So I don't think I'd be able to do that if I wasn't putting in at least more than 50 hours a week.
So the saying I hear all the time in our industry is you have to spend money to make money. What's the best free way that you've made money in this business?
The best free way would be the only way, because I'm not actually spending money, because I have leads to the point that with my other job, if I was spending money generating leads right now, there's no way I'd be able to handle all the traffic that would eventually come in. I'd just be kind of overwhelmed. The best free way is just, I think, for me, it's been internet forums and Facebook groups and things of that nature where just replying. I think all the people that aren't necessarily replying back, but all the people reading, they see your name, they see that you're providing value to the area and the community, whichever online community you're responding to, and then they reach out